Okay, this video is to help with the Pythagorean theorem homework. So in the video I asked you to watch, you should have learned that the Pythagorean theorem is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So c is always the longest side, and we call that side the hypotenuse. And the hypotenuse is always across from the 90-degree angle. So in number 1, the one across from the 90-degree angle is 9. In number 2, the one across from the 90-degree angle is 2 squared of 3. So those two are automatically C. The other two, A and B, these are called the legs. So it doesn't matter which one is which. So I'm just going to label on number 1, 5 is A and X is B. And then on number 2, we'll go over that in a minute. So when we're doing this, we can just plug in the values for A, B, and C. So we know it's A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So we have 5 squared plus B squared, well, that would be X. X squared equals 9 squared. 5 squared is 25. So we have 25 plus X squared equals 81. And we want to get that X by itself. So we subtract 25 on both sides. So then we get X squared equals 56. Now to get this X by itself, the opposite of squaring something is taking the square root. So that square and square root cancel each other out. So we get X equals the square root of 56. And I don't know what that is off the top of my head, so I'm just going to pull up the Desmos scientific calculator over here. And I'm going to type in the square root of 56. So that tells us that the decimal answer is approximately 7.48. And that's all you have to do. On the next one, we have A squared plus B squared equals C squared. I'm actually going to take this and I'm going to move it down here. So A in this case is X. And then B, we have 2 square root of 2, and that thing is being squared, equals 2 square root of 3 squared. So I'm going to type this into the calculator. So we have 2 square root of 2, and that is being squared. And that tells us that this is 8. So we have X squared plus 8 equals, now I'm going to do the same thing. We have 2 square root of 3 squared, that equals 12. So now we can just subtract 8 from both sides. So we get X squared equals 4. We take the square root, and we know the square root of 4 is 2. And if you don't know that off the top of your head, you can do the square root of 4 in the calculator, and it'll tell you that it's 2. Okay, on the next one, this is C, and I'll label this one as A and B. So we have X squared plus 6 squared equals the square root of 226 squared. So like I said, this square and the square root, they just cancel each other out. So we have X squared plus 36 equals 226. So 226 minus 36, that's just 190, because we subtract 36 from both sides. So we get X squared equals 190. We take the square root on both sides, and we get X equals the square root of 190, which is 13.78. And we should put the units on there. So this is inches. And then on number 1, this was feet. And number 2 was inches as well. Okay, the last example, well, we'll do this one and then we'll do one on the next page. So this one is C because it's across from the 90-degree angle. The other ones are A and B. It doesn't matter which is which. So we have A squared plus B squared equals C squared. We get X squared plus 6 squared equals the square root of 197 squared. So remember, the square and the square root, they just cancel each other out. So we get X squared plus 36 equals 197. So we need to subtract 36 from both sides. So we do 197 minus 36. So we get x squared equals 161. And we take the square root of that. So we get x by itself. And x equals the square root of 161. Or the decimal of that is 12.69. And that's in feet. Okay, so I know those ones were they looked a little intimidating because they had a square root in one of the sides, but on this page, these ones, they all don't have a square root. So let's try number 5, and then I'll let you try the rest on your own. So the one across from the 90-degree angle is x, so that's our c, and this is a and b. So we have a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So we have 13 squared plus 6 squared equals c squared. And 13 squared is 169. And then I know 6 squared is 36. So I'm going to add 36 here. So we get 205 equals c squared. Or x squared, I guess I should have written here. I'm going to erase those, and I'm going to put x instead. So we want to take the square root on both sides. So we get x equals the square root of 205. So we have the square root of 205. And that tells us that it's 14.32 centimeters. Okay, so the rest of those should be fairly simple. We've done examples where we're finding the hypotenuse and where we're finding one of the sides. So I hope that helps. And let me know if you have questions.